Hi, I'm Bernie from Crafter's Companion, and I'm going to show you how to use our Mitre tool in a number of ways. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do mitered corners of binding. We're going to do a 90-degree on this one, which is the most common one that you'll use, but I'm also going to show you some examples of other angles that you can use with this tool, because you can actually do 90, 45, 60, 120 or 135 internal and external angles. Let's see how to do it. So once you've opened the packaging, you'll find you've got instructions in there in a number of languages. So we're going to do mitered corners of binding. So I've pulled out that sheet and I've put the others aside, just so it's easy to follow. As you can see, look at all these pictures we've got to follow that help you along step by step. So let's see what it's all about. So you're going to need your project. So whether it's a full quilt or it's a little coaster or a table mat, whatever you're doing, you've got your project here. I've got mine, so I've got my top layer, I've got my wadding inside, and then I've got my backing on the back. And I've used our threaders, stick and spray to adhere those together. And then I've got my binding. Now what I've got here is single folded binding, which is just cut and then pressed in half. Okay, and then we're going to follow the steps. Now the first step, it's telling us for a regular angle, which is what we want to do, we're going to do this corner here. So it's telling us how long you need to cut your binding within, you have an overhang at the end. So you follow that step by step and work out what measurement you're going to do. You're always going to place more edges together. So line that one up on there. And this is where you need pins. If you pin it well, you'll find your result actually comes out a lot better. So I'm just going to pin that binding in place. So with the Mitre tool, we've got a number of markings on there. So we're going to look at the 90-degree. So if we can see on here, we've got the 90-degree point there. And there's also a dashed line, which we're going to use shortly. And there's a little hole in there. And that's for us to mark our corner. So you're going to place your tool, line it up with whichever angle that you're using. We're using the 90-degree. And then with our heat erasable pen or any marking tool, it needs to be quite fine. You need a fine line. We're just going to go there and we're actually marking a point. So we've got that little point there. And that's where we're going to sew the binding to. So let's sew that piece on. So we've got that first piece of binding sewn on. We've sewn up to that black dot and then we've reversed our stitches. That's the key bit. And another top tip, before you sew your other side on, just fold that back and pop a pin or a clip in there just to keep it out the way while you sew the other section. So let's sew our other section of binding on. So once you've got your binding strip stitched on, this is what you're going to end up with. So now we just need to do a tiny little bit of pressing. So let's bring the iron in. And again, like when you're pressing with any patchwork or sewing, you don't need any steam at this point. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your binding strip and you're going to fold it up towards your line. You want it just up to the stitch line and give it a press. We're making a line here that we can follow for the next section. So press one side. And then turn and press the other. And then what we're going to do is mark that fold line on the inside. Again, this is all in the instructions. So we're going to take our tool and our heat erasable pen, let it cool a second. Don't want it to disappear straight away. And then you're going to place one long edge of your tool just on that folded line and you're just going to draw a line. Once you've done a few of these, you'll see that you don't need to have a great long line. You can judge it. And it means as well. So I'm going to turn it and just do the other side. Our heat erasable pens are ideal for this because they've got a really fine point, and then say they just iron away. Okay, so now for the next step. So the next step is to get those binding overlapped. So we just fold it over, and what you'll find is that this is flush with this. Let's move this ironing mat out the way. There we go. You can see how all the raw edges are flush. So the first thing to do, pop a pin in there. I do like to use pins for this. You just need to keep that all straight. So now we're going to take our binding tool. So because we're doing the 90-degree angle, what we're going to do is place the tool, and we have this dashed line that's on the tool. You want to line that up with the line that you've drawn, and you want to point it away from the corner. So when it's an outside angle, it's away from the corner. Okay? So I'm going to line that up on the drawn line, and then I'm going to bring the tool back so that this side here just touches that stitch line where you stop stitching. And then once you've got that lined up, you're going to draw around the tip. Like so. Yeah. And then there's one more little bit, so then I'm going to say I'll take it to the sewing machine and do it. Right. Now we just need to sew that section, but we want to pop a couple more pins in just to keep it secure. So one in that side and one in that side. So when we go to the sewing machine, we're going to sew all along that line that we drew with the tool, not along that line along the fold. Straight across there. So let's do that now. So just before we take it to the sewing machine, we're just going to prepare the actual quilt top. So what we're going to do is fold over the quilt. So it's going to go onto an angle. And again, what we need to do is line up those binding strips. And then your project will be on an angle. So this is the fold. And then again, just pop a little pin in there. And make sure that the binding and the edge of your quilt or your project is pointing away from your binding, because you don't want to sew through that. And again, we're going to sew from this end here to here, and we're going to secure our stitches. So let's do that now. So that's all stitched there. Let's have a look at what we've done. So we've stitched along that line. So we're now going to take our pins out. And we're going to trim a 1/4 inch seam. Again, remember, keep that quilt top out of the way. We don't want to trim into that, because that helps form our corner. So just a rough 1/4 inch. It doesn't have to be exact. Snip both sides. And also snip across that corner on the top. So now let's turn it through. So you're just going to pop it through there, and you're just going to take any pokey tool that you use. So I've got a chopstick here, just to ease that corner up, just to get it nice and flat. And then once you turn it, fold it over, you've got that mitered corner on that side. Let's turn it over, and you can see you've got your mitered corner on the other side, and then you're either going to machine stitch down there or by hand. So let's have a look at some samples of those that's actually been done. Okay, so look at this amazing table runner. So on here, we've got those mitered corners on all of these sides, all the way along on each one. So it actually goes on and on and on and on. But you can see how lovely they lie flat. So that's your 90-degree outside corner. Let's have a look at the inner corner.